tragic situation on the MSC Meraviglia this week. I just returned yesterday from a 4-night Bahamas cruise where on the very last morning of the cruise, we had a very tragic announcement at 5 a.m. that someone had gone overboard. I'll review the steps taken by MSC, how they handled this issue, coming right up. Hi everybody, this is Doug from Seymour Seas. I was on this cruise to review the solo supplement waiver that MSC currently has as a promotion. This was the last morning of the cruise and we were approaching Port Canaveral, about 18 miles off of shore. I will review all of the steps taken in my personal experiences as this unfolded. If you're new here, this is a cruise tips and planning channel where I review cruises to help you and your family pick, plan, and enjoy your next cruise vacation. The full MSC Meraviglia review will be coming out shortly, so please subscribe to the channel so you can catch all of those videos as well. But let's get into what happened that tragic morning. As I am taping this morning, this is December 16th, 2022. This situation happened yesterday morning as we were approaching Port Canaveral. At 5 a.m., everyone was awakened by the announcement, "Man overboard, port side," followed by the emergency horns, just like you hear in the muster drill. Shortly after that, announcements began to have anyone call the reception area if anyone from their stateroom was missing or not accounted for. Of course, many of the passengers went up on the pool deck to see what was going on. I, as well, made my way up to deck 15, only to hear another announcement asking everyone to return to their cabins and stay there until further notice. So we all went back to our cabins, and shortly after that, an announcement was made that all services were suspended and that all crew members needed to return to their cabins as well. Further announcements came on the loudspeaker, and they again asked for anyone that had someone in their traveling party that was not accounted for to call the reception desk extension 99. Next, announcements were made that you must stay in your cabin once again, and that a head count would be taking place and members of the crew would be knocking on your door to scan your key card so they could get a full head count of everyone on board. This also included the crew members. The head count went extremely quickly and very efficiently. They knocked on your door, they reached in, grabbed your key card from the little electrical box that you need to put your key card in to make the electricity work in your stateroom, and they scanned it very quickly and moved on. On my deck, several passengers were out on their balconies trying to see what was going on, and people were talking back and forth to make sure at least someone went inside the cabin, because if you were out on your balcony with the door closed, you might not hear someone knocking at your door and it would delay the head count. We had noticed at this point that there were several ships in the area with spotlights, including our spotlights, to comb the waters to see if they could find this missing passenger. There was a small container ship that at first thought it was a Coastguard ship due to the fact that it was not daylight yet and we could just see this in the distance. As daylight emerged, we did see that this was a container ship, and we also saw that there was a pilot boat that was coming out to probably greet us, but we were headed in the other direction. Everyone was doing their best. We were also assisted by a Coast Guard helicopter, as well as I was told other people on the port side actually saw a couple Coastguard cutters out there as well, assisting in the search. So at this point, everyone had noticed that we had fully stopped and we were circling in place and trying to stay in the same area. I used my marine traffic app on my phone to figure out where we were and what direction we were headed. I noticed that we had stopped and we were heading the other direction, and then checked it several other times to find out that we were actually circling. One of the very sad moments is that when I was using that app and I looked at the Meraviglia status, it had changed to man overboard. This is the first time I've ever experienced anything like that, and obviously the first time I've seen this on the marine traffic app. We circled and searched for about 3 hours when finally, after multiple requests for all passengers to remain in their staterooms, and this was a very mandatory announcement, the tone of this announcement began to get more stern and serious as they came across the PA system. Around 7:45 a.m., then the announcement was made that all services would be restored and that passengers could proceed to the buffet for breakfast. Well, everybody on the ship made their way to the buffet, and the lines were extraordinarily long, and it was a madhouse. I went to the very, very back of the buffet just so I could get some coffee. I was not that hungry, and I was not going to wait in that line, so I took my coffee and went back down to my cabin. As I took my coffee out on my balcony, I noticed that the ship had increased speed quite a bit. So I went on my marine traffic app and noticed that we were directly headed back to Port Canaveral and that the status was still man overboard, but we were moving at 20 knots. So they basically put full throttle to go back into port. At 8:48, the captain came on with an announcement. I recorded about 90% of this announcement, so listen to what he had to say.
Was en route to Port Canaveral. We subsequently performed an immediate search and rescue operation in the area. U.S. Coastguard supported us with boats and helicopter. Unfortunately, despite the rapid rescue operation, the passenger sustained fatal injuries, and we just learned she passed away. We are offering our full support to the authorities who are involved in this matter. I know I speak on behalf of all of you when I say our prayers are with the person and their family. Our ETA alongside Port Canaveral will be in about 45 minutes from now. We apologize for the delay, sure that you all understand the circumstance. Thank you very much.
So the sad news came across that the woman had passed away and that Coastguard had retrieved her body. The cruise director came on right after that and reiterated everything that the captain had just mentioned. So the captain's announcement came at about 9:45. And I know this because I was doing a lot of texting with the individual that was actually picking me up at the port. So we were obviously very much delayed, and so we were trying to figure out when we would get in port. With his announcement, I estimated that we should get into port somewhere a little bit after 9:30 a.m. So we were trying to time our pickup accordingly. So at this time, I decided, because I was all packed and I was doing the self-assist walk-off, that I would just go ahead and head down stairs at about 9 to get in line for the self-assist walk-off. Well, I quickly found out that the line was getting very long, and so I headed directly to the line, and I was probably about the 100th person in that line. They had the queuing rope lines all set up, and it was 4 rows deep. I luckily got into the first row, and we waited there for about 2 hours. You can see that during that time, the line grew substantially. As you can assume, waiting in that line for over 2 hours, everyone started to get to know each other, talking about their experiences on the cruise, speculating on what was going on, and watching the ceiling, which is an LED ceiling on the Meraviglia. They were putting on some displays for us. And then a quite strange, lighthearted moment happened. And do you remember this scene from the movie Elf?
He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. Hey! Watch out! You better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town.
So to everyone's surprise, a young woman in a red dress, we do not know whether this was a crew member or whether it was a fellow passenger, but she appeared on the bridge that overlooks the promenade. She recited the line from Elf, "The best way to spread Christmas cheer is singing loud for all to hear." Then she began singing "Santa Claus is Coming to Town." I wish I would have filmed this, but me, along with many other passengers, were sitting there in awe and trying to figure out what was going on. Many of the passengers began singing along just as they do in the movie, and it did break up some of the tension that was in that line. Thank you, young woman in the red dress, for breaking the tension in that line. It was a very sweet gesture and one that was very much appreciated. I sent a text at 10:52 stating that the line was moving. And then at 11:09, another text was sent saying that I was just entering immigration. And due to a very fast facial recognition technology, I was able to exit the building and I was in the passenger pickup area at 11:12. So the debarkation went very, very quickly, and there were about a few thousand people behind me in line. So I was very lucky to make that call to go down at 9 a.m. to get in that very, very long line. The port itself, we were all worried it was going to be a circus with all of the embarkation passengers getting their way to the port, and so people coming in and going out at the same time could have been a nightmare. But MSC, I had learned, sent emails and messages via their app that all passenger embarkation for that same day would be delayed 5 hours. So they did not make their way to the port. So the port was fairly empty. There were only 2 other cruise ships in port with us that day, which was the Carnival Freedom and Royal Caribbean's Mariner of the Seas. They got there much earlier, so the port was basically empty when we arrived. So we were able to get in and out very, very quickly. I thought MSC handled this very sad and tragic situation extremely well. There were numerous announcements made throughout the entire situation, and the steps that they took, I believe, were very logical and appropriate for this very sad situation. So congratulations, MSC, on a job well done. I think that you handled this absolutely beautifully. The full MSC cruise review will be coming out soon using Doug's ship score, so make sure that you do hit that subscribe button. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.